G'day guys, it's Clint Adams here and we are recording podcast number 21 of The Full Landscape. I'm here with D'Artagnan Macdonald from the Paint and Render Co. Some of you may be thinking, what does the Paint and Render Co. have to do with landscaping and the full landscape? I guess you'll have to listen to find out. In this podcast, we dive into D'Artagnan's background and try to tie some parallels between the painting industry and his trade background with what you guys are doing out in the landscape industry. So I hope you enjoy this one. If you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to throw them in the comments below. Thanks for listening.
Y'all ready to turn it up tonight?
So, I guess if you could give us a brief introduction, your name, your business, what you're currently doing before we get into things.
Okay, so D'Artagnan Macdonald. Basically, I own a company called the Paint and Render Co., which is a very unique, scalable and systemizable model that we built, which does painting and rendering through properties for pre-sale, upsell, and rental.
Yep.
So a very unique model, very systematic in its approach. There's a lot of different moving elements to it, about 5 points of difference that make the whole thing very unique, but something that we see rolling out nationally across the country.
Yep. Was painting something that you fell into, or it was something that you chose? Were there other businesses that you had kind of been involved in leading into Paint and Render Co?
Well, yeah, so I wanted to be a carpenter growing up, right? And so I went and did my pre-voc carpentry course and everything originally, and I couldn't get a apprenticeship at the time, and actually no one who was doing our course could. One of my mates finally got one, I think 4 months after we'd all done the course, and he came across a couple of painters who he said, look, I know a great guy, D'Artagnan, he's a really good guy, he's a hard worker, can you give him a job in the meantime whilst he finds something in carpentry? That was obviously a painting job, and then that literally led into me sort of developing a passion for it and doing it pretty much ever since. So I've done other things since then, but it wasn't until the age of 23 where I started my business, and that's really where my evolution as an individual in business came from.
How old are you now?
31.
So it's 8 years business owner. Prior to that, 5 or 6 years as an employee being a painter?
Yeah, I mean, I started at 16.
Yep.
Yeah, so 16, right through to 23, yeah.
So you know your way around a paintbrush now? Like,
yeah.
You've done enough.
Very
You've done your
experienced.
10,000 hours or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably more.
Exactly.
So I guess what drove you to start a business in the first place?
I think it's like most people, most tradies will get to the point where obviously they feel that they can do it better than their boss, or that they're looking for that flexibility and lifestyle that they don't currently have.
Yep.
When you take that leap, and you, for the first time, and you go, well, I'm going to do this, you realize there's a lot that you do not know. And then you spend the next 3, 4, 5, and in some people's cases, 15, 20 years figuring out how to build a business. Yeah.
That quote, you don't know what you don't know, kind of comes to mind.
Absolutely.
And so I guess at its, and I know your history a little bit more than obviously the audience, but I'll ask questions I know the answers to already. At its peak, how many employees did you have, or how many contractors at the
peak? Was sort of about 8. I'd probably say 8 consistently for that peak period. I mean, that was the max that we sort of really got to consistently. That was the previous company that we had, and it was through scaling quickly, like most tradies do. And I find this to be very common, where all this work starts to flow in. They start to build a good reputation, and work just floods in. So they hire quickly. They start doing all the work, and they realise that they haven't hired for culture, and they haven't hired for further implementation of where the business is going. And so with that quick scaling, they often find that the wheels fall off, and they've got themselves in far too deep. And that's what we did with the previous company, and that was a real lesson where I had to learn everything. I had to also become humble. I wasn't the person that I was at that point. I had certain characteristics that I do today, but I had a lot more ego. And so that fall, which I believe every entrepreneur and business owner needs to go through, is an important part of you establishing who you want to be as a leader, and that's led me to where I am today.
It's funny that what you just said, as you were saying it, I can think of probably 5 or 8 landscapers that have the parallel experience where they start winning work, especially in a buoyant economy, and they're like, we want you, and they have to hire, and they have to hire fast because they've just said yes all the time. I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons I learned really early, was how powerful the answer of no is over the answer of yes, and how if you start saying no to things that aren't exactly in line with what you desire, you'll actually fill those no holes with good yeses. And when you describe the Paint and Render Co, you can hear what your ideal client is. Like you talk about what you want, and obviously you didn't expand on it too much, but I know that you do quite specific jobs. It's not, we paint anything, or we paint full houses. Like we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. And it enables you to have, I guess, the ideal client.
I think I think that the best value that we can give to anyone that's really listening to this that is in the trade industry is that's exactly right. You'll go out and do just about anything when you first start, right? Yeah. And I sort of really do think that it's about the 3-year period where you, as a business owner, will actually know what you do well and what you don't do well. And so my 3 trades are painting, rendering, and roofing. And we were doing everything from rendering front of houses to doing 30 stores at Tea Tree Plaza. So I know everything from shop fitting to commercial to schools. We've done it all. And I've been on roofs, cleaning them, like everything. So I know the ins and outs, and it was through the development of trial and error that I established what we do well, but also what is scalable and repeatable for the people that I bring on board, because it's something that they need to wake up every single day and feel good about themselves. And if I'm making them do some pretty horrible jobs, which the trade industry has many of, that's not going to allow them to hold their head high. So the Paint and Render Co is an evolution of all the issues and the things that I've come across in my experience, and packaged in a way that serves the customers unlike any other business, but ultimately provides a longevity and a career path that tradies currently don't have, at least in the painting and rendering side.
And the ones that are most in line with, I guess, your desires, because I guess anyone else could do the same as you've done, but they might choose roofing. Because that's what they found was the best for them. I think that a lot of landscapers can probably, or any trade, if they don't take some time to reflect at that 3-year period potentially, or 5-year period, or whatever it is for them, there's a trap that they Groundhog Day the next 10 years and then wake up one day and go, hang on, I've got 6 or 8 guys that all own their house and I'm still struggling. I'm still working 80 hours a week. I don't know why I do this. I hate it now. So I think I guess for any young business owners listening or watching, having time to reflect is probably an important point to bring up now that we're talking about that. So obviously you went through all that process. Do you feel like you've learned enough now, and obviously you've never learned at all, but to not replicate those mistakes, and you're ready to start again, or are you still in this kind of all right, we're ready but we're not?
Look, there's still things that I need to learn, and so this year and further to some of our conversations previously is that this year is all about I've been the entrepreneur, I've been the driven guy, being 5-10 years where I'm taking this business. So being in from where I want to be 10 years from now, I've had to think about all the ins and outs, all the moving nuts and bolts of this business I've actually gone through and created. So I've thought about just everything you can possibly imagine, like
because you have a lot of time to think as well.
I'm a deep thinker, I'm very creative, and I put myself in people's minds, and I really think how they're going to think, what are they going to do, what's going to be an issue every single day.
Do you think you do that too much?
No,
you're not an overthinker, so you know where to pause that. And
I think, I think any entrepreneur needs to, how long's a piece of string, right? That's always the issue with that sort of question. And to the point is that, now that we've got all those things sorted out, it's more about being a manager this year. So I've created the systems, I know what the ins and outs work, I know how to run the whole thing, I know how to make it extremely profitable, I know how to close the deals, I know how to present it beautifully, everything. The last sort of puzzle piece to this is now just managing the people every single day to rock up and do a phenomenal job. So that is my focus for this year.
And from what I understand, or from what we've talked about, the welfare of your staff is quite important. We talked about, obviously D'Artagnan has just painted the rental property that we're trying to sell at the moment, and he mentioned when we were talking about maybe trying gym memberships for staff, which we've tried and it didn't work for us. And we talked about massage, especially in a trade where your arms are above your head for a large majority of the day. It's I guess as a business owner, we have to be careful not to give up just because the first one didn't work, like with the incentive side of thing. I was offering gym memberships for all my staff that had worked with me longer than 12 months or 24 months or something, and they just didn't go. So we were just paying this thing, and it was nice, like for them to tell their mates at the table at dinner, like, yeah, man, my salary package includes a gym membership. But if they're not using it, then
it doesn't matter. And
it doesn't really matter.
That's the thing, as anyone listening who's got a business, is to understand that it is trial and error.
Yep.
So things are going to work for 3 of them aren't going to work for the other 4.
Yeah.
So, the reason that I go down these paths and have these conversations is so that I can better understand how I can develop as a leader and how I can put systems in place and culture in place that is obviously going to benefit them as the employee, but ultimately understand that, it is flexible.
Yep.
Because as people come and go, we need to have the mindset that we need to create and evolve that culture to fit the new people that are there.
Because you're not ever going to get a carbon copy of the other person.
You're not.
Have you ever personality tested, I guess, potential employees against existing employees?
Look, we don't go as far as that. No, I mean,
the basic kind of quadrant. I mean, you've probably got enough of a sense. I'm a
great judge of character for the most part. So the issue that we've got in the trade industry for the most part, and this is across every single trade, is that the every single one in this industry is being treated like shit for the most part, right? They're used,
as in the decades prior to this decade.
Yeah. So what they've been done is we're so used to going to the toilet on a job site and someone's throwing rocks as soon as you walk in the porta potty, and that's normal. Right,
it's this very larrikin kind of like.
It's this.
It was done to me when I was an apprentice, so it's my right to do it. To the next apprentice, when
the truth is, as much as it's this whole boys will be boys thing, right? Yep. Like, it's inappropriate.
Yep.
If you were throwing rocks at someone in a toilet in any other industry, it would be harassment.
Imagine it in a law firm.
You would be you would be done for.
You're not even allowed to talk.
Sexual harassment. And so, I'm not, anti against anything. It's just the point that we need to create a culture within this industry, and we need to evolve and understand that we want tradies to hold their head high and to be professional people wherever they go.
Yep.
So rather than them calling me and saying, "How much do you pay?" because they just want to know
that's
if
the first question.
That's the first question because they want to know if the dollar figure's high enough to tolerate your crap.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, "Hey, who are you as a company?
What's your values?"
Yeah.
That would be. I'd love to have people approach here and say, look, we've watched your content. I've seen your 12 values. I agree with 8.
Yep.
4 I'm a bit iffy of and I need to understand better. This is the right place for me. Can I leave you my details? You probably don't have a job at the moment. I'd just be like, you can start now. Like, I wouldn't even have. You don't even have a job for them, and you're like, okay, you sound like the right person. It's for fear of ripping someone off, it's like reverse engineering your end result, and then.
Well, on that point, and that's a perfect segue into what I was about to say, is that we understand content creation to the point where it's putting us in a different light and it's allowing people to actually see another side of us.
Yeah.
So we're going to attract talent who's going to be able to see us through that medium, which they otherwise wouldn't be able to. And so my whole thesis on what I'm trying to push this year is exactly distributing content in a way that people see the other side of me.
That's appealing.
It's appealing.
Jamie, who's my assistant, when she applied for the job, after once I'd hired her, I asked her why she applied, and she said she looked me up and found me on LinkedIn and thought that I'd be someone fun to work for.
Cool.
And that's why she applied for the job. And at the time, I guess probably I thought she's probably overqualified for this role. Like, she'd been doing an EA role for a larger company and a higher profile person, depending on how you want to judge yourself. But it's interesting to see that, and I look forward to in a decade when there's so much more reputation for us and obviously for you, when you're just getting these calls like, what do I need to do to come and do work experience with you? Because we don't get any of that. Imagine like kids, like school kids, like, can we come and do work experience with you? It looks like fun. Not just like, I forgot to organise work experience. Can I do it at yours? So
I can give you a prime example, and I won't name the business as such, but there's somebody pretty reputable in Australia who's obviously producing content at a high level. And I've gone back through and watched all of their episodes in order to see exactly their ascent and the way that they did it. And it was from content creation. The content obviously created more customers. The customers obviously paid money, which in turn allowed them to then more content, which also allowed them to then recruit. The content then that was distributed allowed more talented people to see it, which meant that they went from sacking multiple people who had drug issues and all the rest of it to getting to a point, throughout 6 to 12 months later, where they were getting those resumes from people saying, I'm a talent, I would love to work for you. So I do believe that is the correct path, and it is the avenue that I'm taking now. I think
you just need the cash flow to bank the content
or
the time flow, which you have a different level of time flow to say I do, because of our personal commitments. I can't film and edit, so I don't.
Well, you look at me for some of our last couple of videos that I've posted.
Yeah.
I've edited those.
That's right.
Like
Yeah.
I got in there and I've edited those videos. So I'm out painting properties. I'm
Yep.
out there. I literally scrubbed the floor.
And you're talking running 80s, like 80 out, two houses
Absolutely.
a week.
Absolutely.
Like, that's what we talked
Like
about.
just prior to this podcast, I was on my hands and knees scrubbing the floor, getting the house ready.
Yep.
I already closed a deal today.
Yep.
Saw a customer, finished the house off, scrubbed the whole thing.
Organised
mopped
a
that floor,
videographer.
Organised my videographer. Came here to film this podcast, and
Yep.
I'll be going back out and doing quotes after this. So it's
For anyone listening in South Australia, I think it's 40 degrees today.
yeah.
Celsius for those listening around the world.
Yeah.
So, what are you laughing at, DK? We've got a global audience. Don't you remember the Russians? There's on our SoundCloud.
Yeah.
It shows you the countries that people listen to your podcast,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's like Russia. I'm like,
Nice.
okay,
Yeah, I'll take it.
cool.
Yeah.
Waterpro Russia. We should get the domain. But yeah, so if you can afford, and that's why we've got DK. I mean, it's funny when you get questions like, "Is that really worth the money to have someone full time
Yeah.
making videos?" Like,
Look, I spent a substantial amount of money from the start of 2017 right through to the start of 2019 in my own development. So when you start creating that content, unless you've heavily studied people doing it,
Yep.
even when you point that camera in your face for the first time, you have to understand your message.
Yep.
So there's heaps of footage of me standing in front of like the convention center or a gazebo or something.
I did notice early content. It was just like
We have
D'Artagnan's Adelaide.
absolutely archived footage, so over 2 years. And I was speaking to DK just before, and what we've now got is an individual who's travelled up to Sydney in the start of 2017 with this concept.
Yep.
Went to go get an investment, was
Yep.
flying around on planes, seeing very successful people, didn't get investment, and then went away and then had to build it.
Yep.
So it felt like this Hollywood story of us getting an investment, and we were in Silicon Valley and everything was going to be phenomenal, and then reality kicks in.
Yep.
And we had to go away for the last 2 years and build this thing. So we've still documented. I have a lot of footage that we filmed throughout
Yeah.
that, not just through what my videographers have done, but what I've done on the GoPro.
Yep.
So every single day I've been documenting.
Yeah.
So all of this is stored, ready to go. So when we're ready right through to our first franchisee signing, we're going to
Yep.
put together this entire thing from concept right through to first person signing the franchise.
Yep.
And it's going to be phenomenal. And that alone is going to allow then more franchisees to see that.
Which is basically what you just described.
Exactly.
Because that franchisee starts working, hopefully in South Australia.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, well, it doesn't really matter, but it's easier for you to assist
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
videography. Sorry, is there enough light in here, DK? I noticed the light's not on. You're all good. So you sign your first franchisee, which brings in enough money
Yeah.
for you to support and then film,
Yeah.
and then other people see the success, and then
Yeah.
you get more and you film. Yeah, so you're just at the moment you're at this tipping point.
Yeah.
Well, you're waiting for your tipping point.
Yeah.
The first franchisee, everything's
Absolutely.
ready.
Yeah.
Systems, all that jazz. So, you mentioned that you've flown up to Sydney a bit. I'm
Yeah.
aware of, I guess, educational seminars and
Yep.
that you've been to.
Yep.
Are there any, I guess, people that you look up to in Australia or around the world, either that you have direct contact with, or do you have mentors in your life, or is it something that you've had and you don't have now?
Look, it's an evolution of that. I personally wouldn't give credit to anyone, and I don't say that rudely. I just say that in the sense that, for me, I've had to do a lot of it myself. If anything, rather than saying, there's obviously Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, there's those big people. Like, I've taken a little bit of different people. There is certain elements I've taken from Kerwin Ray, from Jack Delosa throughout my journey.
Yep.
So absolutely, I give credit to them for those little pieces. And I think the important part about that is a mentor isn't forever. A mentor is a stepping stone.
Yep.
And when you're at a certain point in your life, you find those individuals and you use and implement the information that they give you to get past the point that you require.
And if you stay there, you
Well,
kind of
if you stay
it's
there,
a danger.
What happens, I believe, with mentors is that so many people go to mentors, because it happens to me all the time, and they'll reach out for clarity. And what they do is they say, wow, like, I've got this idea and I want you to help me. And it's like, great, how do you think I can help? Oh, they don't know.
Yep.
So they go to these people that thinking that they're going to give them the path forward, which most of the time will come with you with just getting your hands dirty and implementing things.
Just do.
And if you stay around these people for too long, what they end up doing is then imprinting their values upon you, which is not what yours are, but you believe they are.
Yep.
And then you get involved in their environment in which you stay for a very long period of time.
And lose equity in what was originally potentially your idea.
Yeah.
And all freedom to be the very best individual / entrepreneur / whatever you want to call yourself.
I take elements from every one of these, mentors and influencers and people that I've seen. And if I'm going to be truthful and give credit to anyone, it's really my close-knit circle that stood by me through the last few years.
All your friends?
Yeah, all my friends. Well, I say, well, they are friends, but people that have actually helped me with the business. Because
with no expectation of
with
anything
no
in return.
expectation. These are the people who are taking my calls, 3 times a day when something's gone wrong. We need to implement things, and they're helping me fix them.
And are these like a combination of business owners, friends, parents,
they
families?
Yeah. They're a combination of business owners who've rallied behind me. And what, again, back to the content, is that because I've distributed content and people have seen a different side to me and seen, wow, this is a really inspirational guy. This is someone I want to get behind and see succeed in life. So they're helping me.
They don't mind helping.
They don't mind.
Yeah.
Because they understand that that I'm a good person who's wanting to do great in this world, that I have not just a unique business model, but I have a passion to inspire other people as well. And if you can give back, and if you can contribute to society, and if you can create content that actually helps people, they will rally behind you to see you successful.
Well, you find other people, like, look, even a very micro example, like you're here. This is the landscape podcast, and you're a paint and render guy. I mean, they render walls, but it's not. It wasn't about me seeing that you have this direct parallel to my audience. It was me going, what you're trying to do is cool, and it's a good story, and there's going to be one young guy or girl sitting out there that's like, I've just finished my landscape design degree or TAFE course, or I've just finished my Cert 3 in horticulture. I'm going to do this. This is my dream. Hey, there's a guy that's ate shit for 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 years, and he's still doing it. So it gives them an understanding that, I guess, this is what you can do if you put your mind to it, and that don't give up, because it's not going to be as easy as flying to Sydney and getting a check and boom, like
it never is.
Champagne parties in the VIP room. Like,
no, it's not. And I bought into that too. I'm the one on the planes. I'm the one, driving around and everything seemed fancy. And I had to have that reality check with myself as well, because you can get caught up in that, but that's not life. It's just not. And so, like, even if I got investment, and even if things had happened that way, I wouldn't be the individual that I am today. And as cliche as that sounds, the last 6 months, there's a certain point where you feel like, when do I become an adult? The last 6 months, I'm an adult. I have honestly aged 10 years in the last 6 months through what I've had to go through mentally, and I feel I can't even explain the transition that I've had, and that's why I haven't had a day off. I took Christmas Day off, and that was it. And
we were there together. Like,
exactly.
I mean, mine's a bit different because I'm trying to sell my house, but you were there painting my house.
I was there, hands and knees, getting stuff done,
and
because that's what it takes.
Of heat as well. Like, luckily, that house had air conditioning. It wasn't air conditioning in the pool, I can tell you that. But
that's what we need to discuss with people, because it's not about working every single day to get where you need to go. No. But it's about understanding when you need to work every single day, then you work every single day. And
then when your body tells you need a break, that's when you take a break.
You listen to it,
I would wake up once every 6 months and feel like I don't really want to do anything today, and it's rare. And I had that not yesterday but the day before. I was just like, I'm done. I had a new diet, so I'd been eating a keto diet for 8 days, 9 days. I was inside what they call the keto flu, where you just feel like shit, and I knew that was kind of a transitional period to come out the other side and feel better. So I just didn't do anything. And that's fine. Like, one day. I still mowed the lawns at Gillis Plains in 40-degree heat. Did food shopping for the family for the whole day. Answered every text and whatever else in bed.
Well, I think
and went to the gym.
I think the best thing to say to that, to any of the early stage business owners or people looking to get into business, is that this race is a heck of a lot longer than you realise. And so you go out the gate and you do your 2 years and your 3 years working every single day, 7 days a week, and you burn out. And so you're right, you do then have injuries and you need to listen to your body. If we can sink into people right from day one that, listen, to build a successful business takes a minimum of 10 years. And I'll say that again, right? To build a successful business takes a minimum of 10 years.
When we first started Waterpro, well, what was Fluid Designs then? So this company, February 19 this year is a 10-year anniversary of the first invoice this company made. And so we opened on January 1st, but we took kind of that first 4 weeks to set up shelves, sign new accounts, paint, buy $286 computers from the recycled office shop to run our business on. And then we wrote these goals down, and one of the goals, I found it in the computer the other day because I was sitting here, I'm like, I've got goals from 10 years ago I haven't looked at for 7 years. And one of them was retirement party December 31st, 2018. So I went past that day, and all I could think of is
Yeah.
like, why would I ever want to stop?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because that 10 years, I would say very close to 9 years, I
Yeah.
came out the other side. Because for 6 years, 5 years, we were dealing with like tax debt from a business dissolve or a partnership dissolution.
Yeah.
And I was like, when's this going to be good? This is shit. Like, this is continuously shit. And, you know, you would have had it where, like, you don't make your wage for 5 years. Like, the wage you left
Oh, yeah.
with your last employer,
Yeah.
you're still chasing that for 5
Yeah,
years because
yeah.
you've got to buy business cards and uniforms and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
So it was funny that that I saw that, because I think everyone, like, for people that start the business with the idea of selling it or retiring in 5 to 10 years, you shouldn't really start a business. Like,
No.
if you start a business because you're addicted to it and you want to do it for the rest of your life. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that at the start. I was quite lucky.
Few do. And I think, culturally with social media, we changed, because when I started at 23, there wasn't, Gary Vee, there wasn't these people to consume in the way we
What
do
year?
now. That would have been 2011?
Yeah, okay.
2011,
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
So this
that's
is
when YouTube basically started,
came on the
2010,
scene.
11.
Because I had without going into the whole thing, I had a successful online networking group here in Adelaide. We had over, it's called The Hive.
The Hive,
We had
yeah.
over
So that's, I'm familiar with that, because
Yep.
one of our clients at the time
Yep.
was friends with you.
Yeah.
So I've seen
Yep.
photos of you without your beard. In your suit.
Young me. Yeah. I mean, look, and that was the Hive developed from when I started my business at 23. I think at about 24, I created the Hive, and
Yep.
the point of it was for me to further network.
Yep.
Okay, and so the whole point was that we created a Facebook group. We had a whole bunch of business throughout Adelaide come into it.
Yep.
We had about over 600 pretty active members that were constantly engaging with each other, catching up with each other.
This is like groups before groups were groups.
This was groups for groups. This was This is when LinkedIn had groups, and then
Yep.
they took them away, and now apparently they're coming back.
Yep.
This is early days,
Yep.
and so we really were pioneering this.
When you say we, you use the word we in most of the sentences
Yeah.
you said. It's you, isn't it?
It was me,
Yeah.
and I did bring on my brother to help with graphic design and other things.
Yep.
But yeah, it was
And
mine.
when you talk about Paint and Render Co, you keep saying we, but you're the sole director.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a good way of talking. I'm the same.
Yeah.
And it's not intentional. It's just part of the
Well,
way someone.
it's because look, and I say we because there's always other people, right?
Yeah.
There's always other people, right? And
no one's self-made.
No one's self-made, and it's we because we as in who we are today, but we of where we're going tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? So I look at myself. I'm looking at myself 10 years from now. I'm looking at a national and then an international franchise
Yep.
owner, and I say we because I'm building a team that I'm going to take to that place.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
I wanted to highlight that. I think it was important because
Yeah.
I keep hearing it in the podcast. So anyway,
Yep.
where were we?
The Hive.
The Hive. So you had the Hive.
Yep.
So that was a networking group for.
Networking group had over 600 members. We had 2 events. One had 120 first to 10, and then it was at 115 for the second one at the Pier
Yep.
Hotel. Very
so was
successful.
you made money off this? No, it just self-funded. It was like a not-for-profit.
I poured money into it.
No shit.
Yeah. So I took all my money from my painting company at that back then at 23, 24. And my brother did a lot of the graphic design stuff and made it pretty cool.
So posters and
Event, absolutely.
invites,
We had a whole range of things. We had 5 different Facebook pages at the time that were doing different things, and we were building a social media website. So we were actually building our. So if you
what you were going to be have as a Facebook or a LinkedIn.
Yep. We actually built. We had 100 in beta testing. We had 100 people on there.
Yep.
So to give you an insight, if you remember Branch Out, that's how far this is going back. We were building our own Branch Out.
I don't think I touched Facebook till 14.
Right. So it's basically, it was a version of LinkedIn, essentially, and we were building that out. It got to a point where, we weren't making money, and it was, it was a lot of effort.
Development's
trying to do.
expensive.
It's very expensive,
especially back then.
It was. So I closed it down.
Yep.
But at the same time, then I created a company called My Guy. Okay, and My Guy was a whole company because every tradie was always, customers coming up to us and saying, "Look, I need some work done. Do you know a guy?" And I came up with My Guy.
Yeah.
And so My Guy did everything else that we didn't do.
Yep.
So it was a carpentry, landscaping, everything under that.
Because
one
you
banner.
saw
an opportunity.
Yep.
Opportunity.
And you kept saying yes too much.
Yeah, well, I did, yes. And so what I did is I took the concept and I built out the website. I built out the business from a clean skin that anyone could come into and use. And I sold that company at 26 years of age.
No shit.
Yep.
So you sold your first company at 26.
Yep. Yep.
Have you sold any other companies since? So
that's the only one that I've sold. So the Hive, I held on to. We had multiple people approach us and try and buy in on that.
Yep.
My Guy is the one I sold, and then obviously the Paint and Render Co is the one I'm going to be franchising.
Yeah, cool. So that'll be yours forever, basically. That's not for sale, but
the
it's for
person
sale.
who I sold My Guy to at its peak took that to 9-person strong team.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So they've done well out of it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's still running.
It's closed. They've closed it down for own personal reasons and moved on to other things. But the business itself, the concept, and it's great.
Okay. So I was going to go in a different direction with regards to the, I guess, landscapers and systems, but I don't think that's really suitable for now. And I think that if anyone wanted to talk to you in more detail about what you're doing with the Paint and Render Co and the franchising, they can contact you directly.
Yeah.
So right now, if you, I guess, were starting a landscape business or a Paint and Render Co business right now, I guess, what would your first day look like? What would be the most important thing that you would be aiming to do day one? Like you've ready to go. You've left your job. You've got your paint. Well, you don't have paint. You've got your car and you've got your rollers and your brushes. You don't have any paint. And what's the first thing a business owner should be concentrating on? In your opinion, one man's opinion.
No, well, look, in my opinion, I think you need to just put your head down for 3 years. That's all I would say. Yep. I would say go take your trade and go for 3 years and try everything within that trade.
Examples, so where I was going with who should they be calling? How should they be finding work? Who should they be networking with? What suppliers should they be talking to? Should they have one supplier? Should they have 3 suppliers? Like, do you have views on all that?
Look, do you want to start it from there, or do you want
leads from?
Do you want me to push? Because I can give some real value for someone who's been in business for a couple of years. If you want me to
go that way, Look,
okay.
We've probably got 50 minutes before I have to bounce, so we've got time.
Cool. Well, listen. Okay, so what I would suggest, and this is something that's honestly taken me 10 years to develop. This is my cream, right? So what I would suggest any business starting out or someone that's been in business for the first couple of years is first to establish the purpose of where you want to take it, right? Where do you want to take your business? Do you want to be the best plumbing business, the landscaping business? Do you want to do the most fantastic installs? What is it that you want to do, right? That's what you first have to establish. When you trialed and errored a few different things that you do, okay, which is the services that you list. So
that's that first 3 years is I like that. We made good money doing that. That was shit. I don't want to do that anymore.
Exactly.
Get that list.
Get that list, right? Once you know the purpose of the business, you write out those services and you go, which of those services correlate to where the purpose is going to go. Once you've established that, then you start crossing them out and saying which ones are the most profitable. Okay? Once you've established either 3 or 4 of those services that are now the most profitable and in line with where you're going to go, all right, you're able to establish what I call packages. And so just like we've done with our franchise model, is we take 4 interior painting packages. We don't go paint one room. We do all the walls in the house, all the ceilings and walls, or all the ceilings
and
walls
empty houses.
And empty houses. So we've taken the cream jobs within our industry and packaged them in the way, think a Big Mac meal, that's what we do. And anything additional to that is what we call boosters, and that's like adding your sundae to your Big Mac meal. So if you're a landscaper and you do installs, there might be a variation of the turf that you might install, so there might be 3 select choices that you use. It depends on what you're trying to do. If it's a new home and you just got a standardized packaging system, so you might have 6 plants that you choose from, 3 or 4 bark mulching options, things of that nature. Those are your boosters, and you package them in a way that's going to be most profitable for you. All right.
So the part where you decide what your goal with the business is, that would be around how big you want it to be, where you want to be based, your turnover, your profit, how much money you need to be happy, how many hours you want to spend on the business, how much time you want to spend surfing or fishing or whatever it is, family time. So get that real clear before you start the next step of how do you get. So it's really just reverse engineering.
It's reverse engineering. The way that we've done ours is that I know that one person could do 1 full house in a week. Okay? We calculate 42 weeks over the working weeks over the year.
Based on annual leave, sick leave.
Exactly.
Or you're talking you want to give your guys 8 weeks off.
If they have bereavement leave, if everything goes wrong. So then we establish 42 working weeks of the year, and we come up with roughly a figure of 184,000 off the top of my head, somewhere in that vicinity. Okay, then you further reduce that margin by 70%. Because of hot weather, fatigue, all the other factors, our figure comes in somewhere about 134 per person. Okay.
Of chargeable paint time.
And then what we do,
which is very conservative because you've chunked it down twice or 3 times. And then what we do is go, okay, how do we increase that price? Can we cut costs on obviously supplies, on products, on delivery, any number of those things? Can we up our prices? What are all the variables we do? Exactly. Tips and tricks that you've learned over the
And so there's a whole system that we've created of what I believe that tradies should do. And so by creating packages, Okay, and then understanding how many packs. So to give you another example, just so that we can do this, I haven't thought about it for landscapers, but one of my friends is the Tyler.
Yep.
Okay, what he does is $30,000 to $50,000 bathroom renovations.
Okay.
And one of his guys was still going out and doing $65 an hour grout repairs.
Yep.
I turned around to him and said, could that same guy not do a $50,000 bathroom renovation? He goes, well, yeah, he can.
Yep.
So we went through his entire system, established 3 different bathroom renovation packages, which is a retro, a half and half, and a full makeover.
Yep.
We priced each one of those,
Yep.
okay? And then I said, how many bathrooms can a guy do in a month?
Yep.
Well, one guy can only do one bathroom a month.
Yep.
Put it at 30K.
Yep.
Then set his targets at this. Just go for the 12 month.
Yep.
This is a 360,000.
Yep.
So you just set your targets based on your guys and work out your numbers from there.
Yep.
Okay. Then now you've got packages. Then you can just ensure that they focus on that product that they're trying to do. Right. You've got real margins, and then all you're trying to do is then increase the price of that product.
This, I think, I'm not sure if it was Richard Branson that talked about, I guess, if you can sell a product over a service, that's key. And then if you can sell subscription based over that's even better. And if you can sell forward paid subscription based, that's the best. Yeah. So you're trying to take, well, not trying to, you've successfully taken what people traditionally looked at as a service and made it a product. Yeah. One thing I found really beneficial, and this is probably a really good tip for any of the landscapers listening, is that D'Artagnan was very clear around communicating the payment schedule of the work that he was doing for me, and he had an FPOS machine with him. I've talked about this with some landscapers before, and they're like, oh, it's expensive to have an FPOS machine in the car or whatever. I'm like, what's it costing you to chase 7K or 12K or 30K from a client who's, you at the end of the day, you had, say, $500 or $1,200 left on that job. If I wasn't happy with something, it's enough for you to be like, cool, man, like, we'll deal with it. Yep. But it's not so much that you're like, dude, I've got to pay staff, I've got bills. So it's just, it's perfect. So the perfect example of that is that, and I'll just explain it in painting terms because it's going to be the easiest, quickest way to get to the point, is that we know where we're taking the company, okay? I've then packaged the entire business in a way that works for us. Yep. I've then created step-by-step of how to do each of those packages. Right? So we've got an app and every single step in to do that. At the completion of each stage of those steps, where we've gone preparation, ceilings, walls, woodwork, cleanup, is where we take a credit card, and using our facility, we obviously take payments at the correlating stage. Pre-agreed percentages, which is, everyone's cool. Right. Yep. So you're absolutely right. When it gets to the final amount, if the customer turns around and says, look, I'm not happy with this, you can A, choose to fix it, B, waive the final amount and say, have a good day. Yeah. That's how we've done it. So I've had multiple builders go under and not pay me. I've had all of that happen to me too. So I highly suggest anyone to go out and get, you don't even have, you could use the percentages are high, but you can go use Stripe. There's a whole bunch of online payment systems these days. But go out, get yourself a merchant machine. Well, you do your research. You work out what's
best for you, right? And then you're absolutely right. The $600, $700, $800 that you'd use in fees on that month is nothing in comparison to chasing and losing that money.
$600 in fees in a month is, you're pulling in some cash. Yeah. Because I know what we do over our machines and what that costs. Like, it's okay. Yeah. You factor it in. Yeah. It's part of your business cost.
And the more you bring in, you go back to the bank again. Yeah,
so I want to go down to 0.4 or 0.3. So we jump around because I'm crazy and it doesn't always go in one line. So I don't know if we finished talking about the reverse engineer, what you want. Yep. Blah, 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 blah. I think there'll be landscapers out there going, yeah, but you're painting a house. Yep. This is different. Yep. I'm landscaping a house. Yep. Like, we've got lawn, pavers, driveways. We can't not do one or the other. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've got... So I would need to sit down with every individual business owner to really wrap this out. But this is what I do, right? I'm a systems guy. Yeah. So to give you a prime example, another person approached me recently who is a gardener, okay, if we want to go as close as we possibly can. Yep. And what he does is obviously, hedge trimming, gutter cleaning. Yep. He does mulching, he does lawn mowing, etc. So I said, well, how many people do you have on your repeatable model, like on your actual subscription model? He goes, we've got multiple lawns that we do. Fantastic. So what I would suggest, he's charging out at $45 an hour at this point. I said, that's way too cheap. Yeah, way too cheap. I said, rather than charging out at an hourly rate, you need to charge out per lawn. Yeah. He goes, what do you mean by that? Well, I said, well, you need to work it out. Maybe you do a front and back lawn mow up to 250 square meters. Whatever it is, you got to run your numbers.
But, right, and then you go $200 flat fee. Yep. And then what you do is then you go, oh, well, by the way, when you get there, you go, listen, every 3 months, we recommend that you mulch obviously your garden, and here are the 3 options that we do. That's a booster. Then another thing he does is gutter cleaning. Again, he's charging $45 an hour. Here's what I suggested: every 3 months, go out there, because that's what you can do when you have packages selling products. So I said to him, go out there and then start to look at those gutters pre weather. Winter, go out there and say to them, listen, for $180 we can clean your gutters. Here's what it costs. We suggest we do it twice a year. We'll put this on our 3-month schedule when we do our mowing, and then show them what actually happens to the fascia. So just to replace 500 mil of fascia that rots when the backflow of the water from leaves is a minimum $350. One corner. So by him saying to them, listen, if you put us in twice a year at $360 to clean your gutter, you're actually preventing that wood rot. Right, so that's sales.
There's so much more as well. You don't want water coming back into your house.
No, you don't.
But so cool. So they productize
their services,
and then I guess the difference being a house for you is pretty standard. 3 bedrooms. They all kind of measure the same. These guys will just then have to work out their square meter rates on their packages and minimums and maximums, and then I think when you've got that system written down clearly, it's easy to just say a price and people say yes. I've seen so many where people kind of work out a quote based on what they think it will take them and all that, and they look at it and they're like, I think it's too expensive. And they negotiate the price with themselves before they've even seen the client. Unnecessarily. You don't know what the client's going to think. As I guess for what you were doing for me, I didn't even know what the price was, but it didn't, I had to get it done. I was in that space where I knew you could do it. I needed to get it for photos, and it didn't really matter what the price was going to come back with, and there's plenty of clients like that.
It's value. So
that's what it was for me.
It's value.
Yeah, that's why you can't charge per hour.
Yeah, you can't. And so anyone listening who is charging an hour, you need to think about how you do it. You need to change your whole model, because the hourly rate is that let's just say you're charging out $60 an hour as a tradie, right? General sort of rule of thumb. Now, when you go around to the normal customer who's obviously an employee and might be getting $25, 22, 23, 28, 30 an hour, whatever, and you turn around to them and say, look, we charge 60 an hour, they're going, what? That's outrageous.
I don't get that.
They're going to go, I don't get that, but it's like, well, hang on, there's overheads and all this other things. Now, if you reframe that conversation and say, well, listen, this is a package price, so we do this for $2,000, then that takes out the equation of how long does it take. Well, look, on average, this takes between 2 days or 4 days, whatever you establish, so you know internally, but then you have an incentive, because essentially it's price work, and you have incentive to get it done as soon as you can. Then it becomes, wow, look how quickly they delivered that package versus, well, they took an extra hour and I don't want to pay that extra $60.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and I think that I know when I was doing landscaping before I opened the shop, and we used to do I guess the labour and the materials for irrigation, and once we stuck them together, and didn't talk about the labour cost and the materials cost, and it was just for us to irrigate, and we'd give a very detailed description that you have backflow prevention devices that are testable, blah 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 blah, the whole detail, and we were kind of getting cost plus 75 to 100% margin on our trade for the materials, and charging $50 to $70 an hour for what we perceived it to be, and then doing it in 0.7 or 0.6 or 0.5 of the time. Now there's nothing wrong with that. The client was happy. The job was done quickly. We used professional products. It was because it was a package. And it took us ages to get that. We used to go in, we'd do jobs where we'd charge $300 and there was 2 of us there for a day, and you're like, because we'd worked out, oh, that's not fair. I wouldn't want to pay that much, and you're kind of arguing with yourself. Are you a reader, or are you a podcaster, or?
Oh, massive reader.
As in
massive.
Or not audio?
Or everything. Everything. So I started off in an airport. How old was I? I believe I was 26. And I was in Melbourne. And I've seen some family, and then I got on the plane, and I had I think the flight was delayed by a little bit. I went and got 2 books from the bookstore. I honestly had not read, more than 3 pages.
Do you know what they are? Do you remember?
Like Goosebumps.
The 2 books.
Oh yeah. I'm doing it as a kid. Those 3.
Oh, dude, mine was the Twits. And I didn't even finish it. I just asked the guys in the class, we had to write something, and I'm like, what happened?
Well, I did it in primary school, where every time you had to go out to the outside the classroom, and then you go to the teacher, and every time I'd walk out there to the last page, I've only got 2 pages left. Oh, okay, and then I just that's how I got away without reading all of primary school. The 2 books, I can't remember.
Just on that, you and I are so similar with that.
Yeah,
I could not stand reading at school, and I did everything I could. I still made it through. I was scoring A's and B's through most of until year 11. I started smoking a bit too much marijuana, but that's a separate podcast. And then I just stopped because I didn't care anymore. I just managed to negotiate my way to an A.
Yeah,
it wasn't about doing the work. It was I played the teachers anyway.
So I'm different on that because I think that's important. So if anyone's listening and realise that they've struggled through school or it wasn't a right fit for them, I used to get suspended from year 2. I honestly was suspended from. No, sorry, year 3. From year 3 onwards, I was suspended right through to high school till year 11. I was suspended upwards of 50 times.
So I never, ever had a detention.
Yeah.
Because every time I got close to the edge, I had enough emotional intelligence, I'd pull back, negotiate, and I'd be back into it was ridiculous.
See, mine was that I just never wanted to be there. Ever.
So you played up.
Yeah, I played up. I didn't want to be there. I knew that they had no real authority over me, and I knew that I wanted to be doing other things. So, you know, that rebel attitude that, you know, when you're a child...
Well, as year 2, it's pretty early stage.
Oh, yeah, it is. And there's a whole, you know, family things that add to that, which we won't go into in this podcast. But, you know, I had to develop a lot as an individual, and I had to see the world in a different light. But quite honestly, those withdrawals, because I spent a lot of time in rooms by myself at school because I was taken away from everyone.
That's how they dealt with it. Yeah.
So
no talking about you were trying to work out what's wrong.
Exactly. So I just constantly thought, and I didn't realize how much that was developing me as an individual. Yeah. So I would just think about things, and I would talk to myself in my head, and I would develop, and that's where I got to the point where I was so creative because I was always looking at things and just piecing together in my head. I just went up there and I could just see blueprints in my head. That's how I create business. That's how I create things. I see it in my head and then I just bring it to life. And so the point is that anyone who's struggling through high school understand that's, you know, or you know, fresh out of school in that sense is that is really irrelevant to where you want to go, especially as a business owner.
Don't sweat it.
Don't sweat it at all, because, you know, there were so many teachers that turned around and actually pulled me out of class and said, you're never going to amount to anything, leave now.
I got a chemistry exam in year 12 because I lived in Japan for a year and came back, and I didn't really give a shit, and I got 0 out of 25 the day after I got back. And he basically wrote on there, "You're pathetic, get help or change subjects." And I was like, that's not very nice.
No, that's horrible.
And my mum, I guess, would fight to the death to defend her children's honor. She went down the principal's, because I was like year 12 SRC chairperson. I'd go to staff meetings with the teachers and represent the student body. I don't even think it was nerdy. It was just anytime there was an opportunity to be voted, I wanted to be voted and be number one. So I was like, I'll be the boss. I want to be the what was it, the sporting teams, like vice captain of the sports. It was just no matter what. And when that happened, man, my mum went down and set fire to the school. I think that guy was just like, never again. Anyway, so the 2 books. So you hadn't read since high school. You bought 2 books at the airport in Melbourne. Do you remember what those books were?
The one of them was the first book I ever read was The Naked CEO. Don't remember a damn thing out of it.
I haven't read it.
Don't remember a thing. It's a bestseller. I don't remember a thing out of it. And I can't remember what the second one was, but I remember the third was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And so that sort of just that whole path, and then I was just like, whoa.
I thought that was a true story.
Well,
for a long time. Did you know that?
Well,
I thought it was a true story.
There you go. Well, it's the whole, it's to earlier, you don't know what you don't know.
Sorry, man, I ruined it for him.
That's right. You don't know what you don't know. So what happened was that when I started reading this, world just exploded within me, and I was like, holy shit.
Because now this is stuff that you actually are interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, I'd already was running business for multiple years at this point. I'd been in business 3.5, 4 years at this point, and then I went, wow.
And that was just self-taught, stumbling, learning, making mistakes.
And I just went like, wow, I've got to absorb as much as I can. And within that year, I read 30 plus books. In 2017 I read upwards of 70, and in 2018 was my slowest year. I think I read like 30, you know what I mean, which is still a lot.
I found with my reading, I went in hard early, got through 50, 60, 70 books on Audible because I can't sit down and read, I'll fall asleep, and then I was like, okay, I think I've listened to them all. I feel like I don't need to really read too much more, and I do, because you don't know what you don't know, but I'm now more like, let's just do it.
Well, so the point for anyone who's thinking, there's no value in books or audiobooks, it's all the same, is that every one of those books is, repeatable for the most part of the previous book you've read. But somewhere along there's going to be a nugget, right? And that nugget is what you're looking for. And secondly, on that, is that every single day when you wake up, your brain is like a computer, and you need to program it into the way you want it to act. If you're a very driven individual and you get up and you write your goals, you're telling it what you want every day. If you get up and you put an audiobook on as soon as you wake up, you all of a sudden start programming programming it to whatever those thoughts are. So as a tradie, we're obviously put the radio on, and so all of a sudden
listen
that
to all the
song
negativity and the news, and
so you listen to the news, you listen to a song that reminds you of that person that you broke up with, and all of a sudden you feel shit. 3 songs in, and you feel down. You're like, I don't want to be here today.
I'm getting a pie now.
Yeah. So I would honestly say that if the biggest tip that I could give you today, as small as it is every day that you wake up, start listening to audiobooks, because regardless of whether you've heard that information before, it could be the same book. It's going to stimulate your thoughts in a way that's going to take you in the direction of where you want to go.
Yep, I agree with that. I listen to Gary Vee a fair bit, as everyone knows in the whole world. Shout out to Gary if you're listening. I know Gary listens to this sometimes. DK's just fallen over. And you kind of drive along, I mean, his shit's all. I know the whole thing. I could do the keynote, but even then, I drive along and I'm like, yeah, I should probably do that. Could work for here, and I'll think about something that I've heard him talk about before. I'm like, actually, I could probably do that with my guy there, or So I've been because importantly to mention that is that recently again, because I absorbed a lot of Gary Vee in 2015, 2016, and then that started me to do my whole thing with 365. Well, that's the reason DK's here. That's the reason Ash is here.
And so, but today, as in the last few weeks, and so everyone listening, it's how am I going to do that? It's like, if you don't want to listen to an audiobook, get out your phone, put on YouTube, go sit your phone somewhere, get a set of earpods, and literally start listening. So I've been listening to non-stop keynotes and a whole range of things.
That's the funny thing, because you paint, so you can listen and work.
Well, most people can. Like,
if you work at a call center, maybe not. But
no, we're talking about tradies here, right? Like, so
the
point is that it's hard work, and we're in our head. And if you're having trouble with the missus or the kids or something's going wrong, you're going to start thinking about it. So what do? You program your mind. You don't put the radio on. You program your mind. Go get your AirPods. Go put one over on the side.
Shout out to Apple.
If it's an issue, go put safety issue. Go put one down somewhere else. And just keep one in your ear. Go sit your phone over so it's still playing YouTube. Just move it so you're at the same distance. There's no excuse. And start listening to Gary or Grant or anyone else that you are inspired by.
Patrick Bet-David, Valuetainment. Have you seen his stuff?
No.
I've been on the hunt for a while because I'm like, oh, fucking hell, Gary Vee. I've listened to everything. I've got nothing else to do. He does a lot of interviews with guys like Mark Cuban, Vanilla Ice. I watched that last night. Crazy stuff. And he's a really good interviewer. Really draws it out. And I think you'd enjoy that as well. It's just different. It's just hearing the perspective of
what's his name? Patrick
Bet-David. So the YouTube channel is called Valuetainment.
Okay.
He's got 300 or 400 videos up, I think. So he started an insurance business in America. So I think he's an Iranian national. Was in the army, come to America, started doing fitness stuff, and then kind of moved around. And if you've ever seen, there's a video that was on Facebook about an entrepreneur wakes up, grinds hard, and then he gets in a Ferrari and pulls up at the business at 4:30 in the morning. It's real cliche. That's his video. I think he popped when he made that because he's like, I'm driving a Ferrari to work, but I'm also getting here before any of you woke up. Like very So I guess I ask a lot of our guests, is there a quote or a mantra that you continue to live by or come back to? I mean, you've probably got 400, but
look, there's two. Right, there's two, and they're to both extremes. And my personal quote, which is something that I live by, is self-belief over everything. So I've always had a strong sense of self-belief in who I am and where I'm going. No one can ever break that. No one can ever take that away from me. I know that as long as I'm with me at all times and I have that voice in my head telling me what to do, which we all have, I'm going to be just fine. So it's self-belief over everything. So whatever you're doing in this world, find the courage within yourself to believe in yourself, and everything else, the strength that you require, will come to you and take you to where you need to go. Okay? And then the flip side of that for all the business owners out there is you cannot buy the lessons that business will teach you, but you will pay for it. When you know that what that truly means, you know what it's like to run a business.
I like that. That was good. The I think about it sometimes, like you could have gone to uni and paid $100,000 to do a master's. I've made $100,000 worth of mistakes. That feels like a master's.
You made way more than that. Like I've made $500,000 in mistakes.
Well, that's right. These are the ones that I want to admit.
Exactly.
So
it's like
if you add the wage mistakes,
jeez.
And
then factor in lost revenue. Let's be real.
You can't even put a number against that.
You can't. It's insane.
Like the time that that you've spent too much on this and you've lost that. Well, like this is, and DK brings it up a lot. I didn't go to a meeting recently. I've never missed a meeting. Like, I just don't miss them. It's just part of the way I was brought up. I talk to DK all the time. 5 minutes early is on time is late. Always be there. And I'm in a period where, I don't know, I was probably drinking too much and a lot of shit was going on and we were busy I don't know if there was a few of my guys weren't here, or Matt maybe wasn't here, and I was dealing with a very large commercial tender that I wanted to meet with this person about to try and discuss how it wasn't going in the right direction. I just never put it in my calendar. And I think it was, say, 10 or 11 o'clock Monday morning. Wednesday, I just went, oh no, I didn't go to that meeting. Oh no. Now, I think the total potential revenue from that contract's about $1 to $1.4 million a year, potentially. Like, we're not necessarily going to get it all. It's as good as gone. Like, I'm not, like, I'm sent this person like a plant emails, I'm sorry, like, it's never happened, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, and no more contact. So those little mistakes, I mean, it's good that it happened, because it just slapped me in the face a bit and went, you're operating outside of your, I guess, ability with your current health and alcohol and lifestyle choices. You need to snap out of this. So it might have cost me that, but then what's it saved me? So you never really know those sliding door moments or those quantum paradigm moments where you've kind of gone one way and you should have gone the other way.
Look, we and I'll give an insight to people however they're perceiving me to be right now as well, and this only happened to me last year, where I had someone who's very successful, I won't name them, but very successful in this state, who we became very good friends with very quickly, very aligned, and they were really backing me to see me very successful. They're in the real estate industry. And we took on a job that was way out of the scope of what we could do with the people that I had. I got in there and thought, no, we can do this.
So
and
I said yes.
Yeah, I said yes to it, and I should have said no, because it wasn't one of my packages. It wasn't a house. It wasn't what we do specifically. But of course, as a tradie, it's like, can you do this? Yeah. How long will it take?
And it was an impressive job.
And it was an impressive job.
And it was someone that you wanted to impress.
I wanted to impress. And so what I did is I turned around and said, yeah, we can do it, man. And ultimately, I had to turn around because it just got way too complicated. There were so many unforeseens because the building was so old that I actually had to turn around and just say, I'm sorry, man, we actually have to walk away from this job. And I had to refund $4,000, and actually really did burn the relationship. And whilst I kept communicating with this individual, we've only just started actually we're starting to get back to where we were, because there is a strong bond, and this is someone that wasn't just a business associate. I considered a mate, and when I consider someone a mate, that means something to me. So when I knew that I'd let that person down, I knew I'd fucked up, and I fucked up because I went out of the scopes of what I know that I can deliver on. So when you have a business,
you have to have those rules.
Yeah, you do, and you have to go, like, I have a business and I do something. It could be one thing phenomenally well, stick to that and nothing else, because as a tradie, when we start doing, hey, can you know,
while you're here, can you hang a picture?
Exactly right. Like, to give the prime example of it, someone, like, you know, can you paint this water tank? Can you paint this driveway? It's like, well, have you ever done it before? It's like, oh, well, it's still just painting it, right? It's like, to give an example, it's like, it maybe planting a specific plant that might need a certain attention that you're not aware of.
Or you need to go buy a special tool, or you need to engage a consultant, or you need to do more follow-up.
Things. Yeah. It could
nothing you know about.
Nothing you know about. It could be removing or putting in certain retaining walls or substrates, or there's clay soil. Like,
or you're not licensed.
You're not licensed, right? There's all these variables that come into play. So when you know what you do well, stick to that and stick in your lane and just do it phenomenal. And it's taken me to a point of proving to this individual how good I am in my lane, for them to come back and say, no, I do believe in you, and we're going to continue on with this friendship, because that's first and foremost to me, is I care about the friendship. And I remember saying to this individual that, regardless, when I gave him back their $4,000 and said, if we never do business again, that's fine, but I want you to know that I genuinely give a shit about you as a person, and this was a real friendship. Because that means something to me in business. So, you know, the point of that is that stick within your lane at all times, and never waver, no matter how you perceive that individual to be. Don't get caught up in the glamour of who they are and where they already are, because you need to be running your own race, and not get sidetracked with all the glitter that comes with hanging out with people such as that.
I talked about that in a video recently. I just put it up about how I was getting business envy. And you get caught in the trap of doing something that you might not necessarily do because you want to impress someone that you want to be like, or you want to spend more time with, or whatever, or you're looking over the fence and going, they've grown so much, and you don't ever really know. But I think the great importance of putting those rules down, even in writing, when you're tired or fatigued or stressed or running low on cash flow or whatever, if you refer to those rules, you won't make stupid mistakes. Because it's like a meal plan for someone who's trying to lose weight, or being in the armed forces. All the training they do is so that when they're in a stressful situation, they make the decision that they're meant to make when they're not in a stressful situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you may have been in a position, one of those things where you're trying to impress, or you're low on cash flow, or you want the ego, which is 98% of the things I do is ego. So if you don't have those rules, you know, you kind of...
My issue is that, you know, and this is where I've drawn back, and this is why I've been on the tools and everything, and you see me working so hard the last few weeks, is that I got caught up in who everyone believes me to be today, which is who I'm going to be tomorrow. And so what I had to...
You got caught up in it?
I got caught up in it.
So everyone's like, yep, you're going to be... X.
The biggest thing going around, and these are multi-millionaires.
Dulux will be taking you to Monaco.
These are multi-millionaires and very successful people saying that you are us and you will be us. It's just a matter of time. And so there I am thinking, well, wow, like how long is it going to be and all the rest of it. And it's not that I there wasn't an ego, but it was me starting to believe that
it's a desire.
It's a desire, but it was that things were going to be easier than they really are. And so what I started to do was, you know, I'm hanging out with all these people, and these people are bringing me into their circle, and they're seeing that I'm a mover and shaker in the making, and it's like, well, hey, we want to bring them in with us. And I got caught up in that because I started to, you know, run with them in their race, right? Going to charity events, hanging out at certain football matches, doing the things because they've already made it and they're already celebrating.
They can afford the fuel for their boats, though.
Exactly.
It's different.
It's different. And so what you've got to realize is, remember the stage of the game in which you're at, and you need to stick to that stage, and you need to do your hard yards, because there's no point riding someone else's coattails there, because that's never the way that you want to get to the finish line.
Being honest about that's important as well, because most of those guys, or the good ones, the ones you like, they don't care. If you can't go to that charity event, or you can't do that, that's fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're them 10 years ago or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter.
No, exactly.
But I think a lot of people kind of like, well, they've invited me. If I say no, it's rude. But if you go back and go, look, I honestly can't afford this. This is, you know, or I need to spend this time on my business. I can't go out and drink like you guys can, because we're in different spots. They appreciate that. And that's that business envy again.
It depends on what kind of business you're trying to build, because so many people get caught up in the fact that, you know, if they get a certain level of success, then they want to go to the footy and they want to hang out with everyone and they want to do all that. I'm trying to build a national franchise. So I've already partied. I've done that.
I get it, man.
The more that I was hanging out last year with all these individuals and going to the footy matches and drinking beer and I'm like, it's not me. It's not who I want to be.
Yeah.
Because I don't find the value anymore.
Character.
It's a character. I've done that. I don't find the value in going to the pub and sitting there for 4 hours with everyone just having a laugh when I could be developing my company and doing things that are more important to me.
And those meetings, the real important ones, don't take 4 hours.
No, they don't.
And you, like, because we've had tickets at Adelaide Oval for 5 years, and I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Not only the time away from family, and that's important because obviously I've got young kids and a wife. I should keep mentioning her. She's going to start feeling alienated. But spending like a night at the footy doesn't take 4 hours because it kills the next day. It costs me $800 probably, and that's not including lost time. That's just Uber, 4 tickets, $400 worth of alcohol. So you know, that meeting could be done, especially with once you start dealing with mature individuals who are in the same position. They don't want to go get drunk either.
No.
They still want to be successful. So they're like, do you want to have breakfast for 40 minutes and cover the same stuff?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
It did help at the start.
Yeah. Everyone's running their own race, and you know, there's going to be a lot of people listening to this that aren't going to necessarily correlate to what we've just said, because they're happy to just have a 1, 2 man, 10 man band, and that's it. And that's still a great successful company, but they're trying to build their own lifestyle because they want to go fishing 3 days a week.
That's better.
That's cool.
That's like, if they've successfully found what they want and they're doing it, like I've successfully found what I want and I haven't got there yet. Like if they've achieved it,
absolutely.
Good on you.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Especially if you can articulate it, because I think it goes back to that point where we talked about, like, find out what you want it to look like at the end.
Yeah.
If they've got it,
happiness.
Good on you.
Happiness.
Yeah.
If you are true, like, don't go into business as a tradie or any kind of business and think that it's going to be easy, and don't go into it thinking that the money's going to help you, because it just won't.
No.
And what you're going to do is, if you continue working your ass off non-stop, but you're doing something that's not truly aligned with who you are as an individual, you are going to hate yourself when all of a sudden you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys, you've got multiple cars on the road, you've got all this ATO debt, you can't keep up with paying all their super, and all of a sudden everything's come crumbling down around you, right? And you spent 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years building something that's not aligned with who you are. So when shit hits the fan, you pull the pin because you go, you know what? I don't have the strength to overcome this, because it was never what I wanted to do in the first place.
When it takes 3 years to accumulate a problem and 5 years to fix it, it's a challenging 8 years.
Oh yeah.
And that's pretty much the numbers we ran. We took 3 years of digging a hole And then on my own, not on my own, but on my own, I took 5 years to throw that dirt back in and started from scratch. So we went from zero that first 8 years, and then the last 2 years, once the hole had been filled and I fixed my systems around tax savings and superannuation and paying people money and all that shit, did it finally feel like I could exhale. So I guess be careful what you wish for. Is there anything that I guess you want to add, or is there anything you want to plug at the moment? Obviously, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, we'll link up all your socials in the podcast where we put it.
Yeah, look, no, there's nothing I want to plug, and there's nothing. My underlying message of, regardless of what I'm building with my business, is always just to inspire individuals to be the best versions of themselves. So for me, it's about allowing people to find the courage within themselves to go chase whatever it is they want in this world. Yep. And so that is my purpose. That is inspiring individuals along my journey to be the best version of myself, for them to be the best version of themselves. Yep. Okay, so whatever it is, take the chance. Believe in yourself, get back up no matter how many times you get knocked down, and understand that the world is a big and scary place, and it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you a lot. But if you believe in yourself over everything else, you'll find the strength to overcome it.
Good message, man. Thank you so much for coming in.